Young guys a place to have a roof over their head, clothes, and food. And there were millions of kids, young men, running around with no way of getting a job. So they started up these camps where they were reforestating places where there wasn't needed trees.
Right.
They started building all the state parks that we now enjoy.
Right.
And there they were out, from underfoot. And I think they got $30 a month. That'd been $1 a day. And they had to send part of it home. They never seen it even. They sent it to the parents of the kid that was in the camp. Well, he got a warm place to sleep. He got good nourishing food and work close to working. And building stuff that was good. And that's how they took care of a lot of that young unemployment.
They just hire them to
Yeah,
do something.
That was the way it was. I think I'm not positive of the amount of money, but I think it was $30 a month, and I love it. They got to keep, and the rest went home. So
Did it seem to make a difference?
That made a big difference, having kids, young men having work.
Right.
Then I think the next thing, what the heck would that have been? Oh yeah, they started civilian conservation.
Yeah, that was that.
This was older men and stuff. And they had them doing all kinds of things. Maybe it was just cutting brush along the highway.
Right.
But it gave them guys a check. Well, they weren't very big checks, but doing all kinds of small things like that gave the guy, fixing things on roads and stuff. And they got these small checks, but it was cash money. And they were thrilled to death, the men that hadn't had a job of any kind for quite a while.
Where did they get the money from to pay them? Where did the government get?
I don't know what they used, but that's a small start.
Right.
That they started with just about as soon as he got in office.
Were people yelling about them spending money on that?
No. Heavens. The grocery stores couldn't sell anything. Hardly anybody had any money.
Right.
No, and the attitude, you can't believe how much difference it was when them people could go in with a little dab of money and pay cash and get groceries. The whole attitude of people changed, and you never heard anything that I know about of people. Maybe some rich people hated it.
Right.
But the average person was thrilled to pieces. And then they started with the farmers with a small payment. Didn't amount to hardly anything, but they got it for the way they'd done with their farms to keep the soil better instead of just wrecking it.
Were you guys getting any of this?
Huh?
Did you guys get any of this when you were running the farm? When you were working on the farm?
When you were working on a farm, they paid you wages.
But I mean, you guys, were you involved in that at all?
No, we didn't get the cash. The cash went to the farmer who owned the land.
Right.
And he paid you out of his money.
Got it.
Because he owned the farm.
Right.
But, of course, they started other jobs then that people could do and get little small wages, till it gradually grew to businesses got into it, and they hired people for so much and so long and different things. But I tell you, if you don't think that was a different thing, when them young men had some place to have just that few dollars and have decent warm clothes,
right,
and stuff, it was like a miracle. And how many terms was Roosevelt in for?
Didn't he get elected, was it 4 or was it 3?
3 or 4 terms, wasn't it?
I can't remember now. Because he didn't finish the last one.
And that's how come...
I think he was elected 4 times and he died right after he got elected.
Yeah, that's right. I know it was a long time.
Yeah.
People were so happy then they gave you, if you were able to farm, but you didn't have enough money to start. People had farms. We did get a little money when we started farming the very first year. They gave it so you would have a little money, for the absolute necessities like seed corn and
Right.
stuff like that. So you'd have a little money to get started with. It was very, very small. In Chicago.
Right.
And
It's 1932-ish.
in 1932 and 3. From then on up there for about 3 years, it was terrible. But, it wasn't very long after Roosevelt got in. He'd try one thing, and then if that wasn't going good, they'd try the other. But the first thing he did was, instead of handing people out food stamps or something like that, they got some little job. Maybe it was clearing brush along the highway, and they got a check. Then people were a lot happier getting that check than would if they'd have fed them.
Right.
And it picked up from then on, and it just... And he used to give them fireside chats. And everybody in the country sit and listened, I think. Even us kids sit and listened. I can remember I was already married, and I'd go up to the folks, and if he happened to be on, of course, we always wanted to hear him too. But one of the neighbors, or a couple of neighbors, didn't have radios, but the folks did. And that one old guy, he'd come over, they'd all come over to listen to Roosevelt give a fireside chat. And when Roosevelt would say something that he thought was good, he'd hit his thing, and oh boy, he'd holler so loud, and that was right in his knee. And all of us kids always talked about O. Henry, how he got so excited when Roosevelt would, say something that he agreed with.
Right.
Now, what president have we had since him that even little kids would sit and listen to him? He had something in his voice that was soothing or something and believable, because it was things were going to, this was going on and that, and it would help this or help that. And people just sit and listen to that. And we've never had anybody that could do that since then.